Eye on Sports is the second episode of the sixth season of Cheers. This is, of course, directed by the wonderful James Burrows. And as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts along the way. And it's a brilliant episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. It starts off with Carla coming in saying she hates the uniform, and we do get to see Sam in the uniform very briefly, which I was very happy about. And he tries to speak to Rebecca about this, but she just mentions that there's a problem with the dry cleaning, so they need to take good care of their uniforms. And as soon as she's out of sight, Sam thwacks something onto his uniform. He's a mess. Carla realizes what's happening. She does the same. And then Woody realizes, and Sam just covers him in everything, and then Woody joins in. It's great fun, a really delightful way to start things. We cut to the next scene. They're in their regular clothing. I will admit, I kind of miss the uniform. I don't think they should have worn them forever, but I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more out of them in this episode, because we only get to see Sam in them for a tiny second. But nevertheless, it's not the last we actually see of them, but more on that probably later. We then have a character coming in called Dave Richards. He's played by Fred Dreyer, and he is actually a sports presenter, and he's asked Sam, interestingly, to fill in for him, and everybody encourages Sam to do this. And Dave then hits on Rebecca. It doesn't work. And he then tells Sam that he needs to be there tonight for 11 o'clock. And Sam's really excited about this. He's about to rush out the door, tells Carla to make sure she locks up. And it's a kind of an awkward moment because Carla has to remind him, not only does he not run the bar and can't tell her to lock up, but he also just can't leave without permission. Granted, Diane did that for pretty much 5 seasons, but Sam definitely can't walk out without asking permission from Rebecca. And Sam has a plan. And it's pretty good fun because he tells Woody to go and call from the payphone, and Sam gets Rebecca out of her office, and Woody phones the phone at Cheers, and Sam answers, and he pretends that it's his landlord telling him somebody has broken into his apartment, and Sam dashes out, and then Rebecca says to herself, basically, that she needs to hire a relief bartender. So, of course, she picks up the phone to dial, and Woody is on the phone, and I don't think Rebecca realised in that moment what was going on. She might have had a tiny inkling, but certainly she didn't give anything away if she did. We then see Sam on TV, and everybody, the gang at Cheers, minus Rebecca, are all watching him, and it's really lovely to see. Unfortunately, things aren't perfect for Sam. It's not the best presentation he could have given. And we get to see during the break, he actually flirts with Joanne, his co-host. And it's kind of jarring because I'm still not used to him not being with Diane. It took me so long to get used to him being with Diane after so long of waiting for them to be together that I'm now at the other side. I'm now not used to him flirting with other women because I'm used to him being with Diane. So I think that's something that's going to take a little bit more time to get used to, but we will get there. We then find out that Rebecca actually saw Sam on television. And honestly, her face when she revealed it, and Cliff's eyes became really huge in that moment when she revealed it. I thought it was very well done. I really enjoyed that. Sam then comes back into Cheers, and everybody's praising him, but he asks Carla to tell him the truth about how it went, and she admits that it wasn't great, and Sam's willing to give it another go. So he asks Rebecca for the night off. Rebecca admits that she saw, and actually she does give him the time off. And the reason for this is twofold. She says that either he'll do really well with this position and he will leave Cheers to do this permanently, or it will be horrendous and he will humiliate himself, and Rebecca will delight in that. And I feel like on the one hand, that tells us what kind of person Rebecca is, but at the same time, she didn't have to give him that time off. And I think maybe part of me at least believes that she was doing it to be nice. Sam's then on TV again. We see him talking about grass versus turf, and then he raps. Honestly, the rap was interesting. It was entertaining. I really enjoyed it. But if that was real life and that happened, I can understand why it would not be well received. He then comes into Cheers and nobody can tell him the truth. Even Rebecca is kind of nice to him. She could have completely torn him apart. She could have made fun of him so much for that rap. And she didn't. And I really respect that. And I think it definitely helps to show us that actually once you get to know Rebecca, there are different sides to her, which of course is definitely the case, but more on her character development as we get there through the episodes to come. And Sam then says that he'd been working on something that he thought was a bit too much, but since rap has been done too much, which everybody kind of tried to make him believe was the case, he's decided to go with his new idea. And we cut immediately to his next time on television, where he's doing ventriloquism, and not very well either. And Rebecca's response I absolutely loved. She said, if either of them mentions the bar, I'm suing, which I thought was delightful. And Sam then comes in and realizes that this just isn't the gig for him. And he says, even if they phoned Cheers now and begged him to come back, he would say no. And as luck would have it, the phone rings again. And I think it was pretty obvious what was happening here, particularly when you realise the phone rings and Woody is nowhere to be seen. And Sam makes this big show of rejecting their offer and saying that he's got a job, he has friends here, this is where he needs to be. And then he hangs up the phone and Rebecca picks up the phone to make a call. And then she glances over and we see Woody on the payphone again. And I just thought it was absolutely adorable. It's a really fun episode. I feel like, well, it's kind of hard to think this because obviously I've seen the show before, but I feel like it's become very easy to get used to this new situation with, not so much with Sam behind the bar as a bartender rather than the owner. I'm still not used to that. But with Rebecca in charge, it's just so natural. I feel really comfortable with this. Granted, I am biased. I am in love with Kirstie Alley. I have been since I was 5 years old, so I'm very much always going to love her. And I guess that's maybe making me quite biased. But I do feel like they did a really great job of making things different enough that it feels like a new chapter, but similar enough that it's not completely different. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I also feel like, apart from maybe Cliff in the previous episode, they also made a lot of effort to include the whole gang at Cheers. We even had Al with a line in the previous episode. He didn't have anything in this episode, but he was at the bar. So everything is familiar. We're still seeing these familiar faces, but there are some changes. And I think that was a really great decision. I assume it was a conscious decision to include everybody quite extensively. And this episode in particular, we see that with everybody, including Rebecca at one point, watching Sam on television. Eye on Sports is a delightful episode. I do think that season 6 is off to a phenomenal start. There are some amazing episodes coming up. We do still have 6 more seasons, which is absolutely incredible, because I feel like most sitcoms get to 10 seasons, and Cheers was very special and they went one extra. There are other sitcoms that have lasted longer, but in general, most tend to go 9 or 10 seasons, but Cheers was worth one more than that. And I'm looking forward to rewatching them. Still missing Diane, still grieving Diane. I always will be, but I love Rebecca, and Eye on Sports definitely helps to show that season 6 is off to a pretty brilliant start.